Welcome, everyone, to a Thursday edition of Bet. Tyler Fulghum and Erin Dolan with you to get things kick-started as we head into the New Year's weekend. Erin, do you have any special plans for New Year's Eve? Going to be sticking around the crib with the family, or are you venturing out into the dangerous world?
Absolutely not. My goal for this year is to be healthy, no longer sick, so I will be horizontal in bed with some melatonin. There will be no pictures of me out with the little things that you blow into in the hats. I actually don't go out on New Year's. It's the one day of the year that I actually don't enjoy. So do you have some big plans? It sounds like you do.
I might dabble, have a nice steak dinner, some seafood as well, surf and turf, and then see if there's a show that I can sneak into. Be as safe as we can, but I'm going to try and have fun because I do like New Year's. I like the party, like the energy, like the vibe. So I hope you do get better for 2022. It seems like you've been under the weather a little bit here for most of the end of 2021, but that has been common across the nation. I hope it's common for you, as you saw there, to be a subscriber to our YouTube channel, ESPN Sports Betting. That's youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting, where you'll find all of our gambling content across all platforms, including this show here, Bet. We do have Anita Marks standing by to join us, so it's going to be a lot of fun running that three-person weave when we get her involved in the show. But on a Thursday, we like to get things kick-started by expanding our vocabulary. It's time for the good word, Erin Dolan. So we're going to start with this one in the National Football League. The Dallas Cowboys are 10-1 to win the Super Bowl. What does that make you conjure in the good word?
Stomach. So this might be a little confusing, but the last time the Dallas Cowboys won a Super Bowl, I was in my mom's stomach. That's how long ago it was. It was in 1996 in January when they beat the Steelers. We have not seen that Dallas Cowboys team since then, I would say. I am an Eagles fan, as you see from the helmet behind me. I'm not personally betting this. I think the NFC East has helped them, just considering how bad it's been. But anytime the Dallas Cowboys have played a great team this season, including the Packers and the Bucs, they've lost those two games, and they haven't really played a really tough schedule. So for me, I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. I think the AFC has some pretty powerful teams, like the Chiefs, for example. And I just don't see the Dallas Cowboys winning the Super Bowl. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Eagles fan. I actually think on paper, when breaking everything down and just schedule-wise, I mean, their last 3 weeks, they played NFC East teams, so they've been looking great, which is why a lot of people are talking about them in this conversation for the Super Bowl again. But for me, I'm out on it for sure.
I'm not sure I believe you that you're completely unbiased in your handicapping of the Dallas Cowboys, but I understand there's legit competition around the rest of the league. It'd be hard for me to wager on the 49ers, the Seahawks, or the Arizona Cardinals. I do hate the Cowboys as well, like you, but removing my biases, the word I use is star, as in I think this is a gold star bet right now on the betting board at 10-1. That's my favorite bet as we sit here just a couple of days away from the calendar turning into 2022. The Cowboys have the best ATS record in the National Football League. It's not that they're just winning, they're consistently beating market expectation. And their expectation throughout the playoffs, I think, is one that should be that they're a Super Bowl contender. For me, Erin, if the Cowboys play their A game, and I don't think they access it as frequently as other teams in the NFL. But if they do happen to access their A game for 3 games, 4 games in January and February, I think their A game is better than anyone else in the NFL's. You have Dak in that passing game. You have a strong O-line. You have 2 horses you can rely on in the backfield to run the football. Now their defense has shifted from a complete liability a season ago to a complete strength. They can turn you over and create extra possessions for their offense. They can rush the quarterback with Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, and Micah Parsons. They can cover wide receivers in the back end with Trayvon Diggs. So I just think their A game, when they access it, is better than everyone else's. I don't think they're as consistent getting to their A game as some other teams, but I do think their best is better than everyone else. That's why I say star there for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, on to our next one here, and I'm going to need some help from our graphics department because my computer has locked up just a little bit. There it is. New Orleans, plus 160 to make the playoffs. A little bit of a long shot right now. They're on the outside looking in, I think, but quarterback issues, defense has been good. What good word do you conjure here, Erin?
Enticing. So you see some of these odds coming out for teams to make the playoffs, and there's a lot of scenarios that have to happen in order for that to actually be able to cash. So We know that they just lost to the Miami Dolphins, and unfortunately they moved to 7-8. Now, for them to kind of get into the playoffs, a few things need to happen. One, they need to win outright. They have to beat Atlanta. They also have to beat the Panthers. But they also need the 49ers to lose one of their last games, as well as the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are playing the Packers this weekend, and then the 49ers in their last week are going to play the Rams. So that can happen. It's just a matter of a ton of just combinations need to happen. And you don't really know what's going to happen in the last couple of weeks when, you're seeing teams kind of wanting to make the playoffs, but then you see teams kind of starting to back off and rest. So for me, it's enticing, but it's not something I'm really ready to pull the trigger on, just given that so many things need to happen for the Saints to kind of sneak in there. And like you mentioned with the quarterback situation, I mean, the Saints are very unpredictable for health reasons more so than anything.
And I agree with what you're putting down there. That's why my word is limited. I think there is limited value on the Saints to make the postseason. At plus 160, I'd need a much more heftier price, a bigger return on investment. I think this is a limited value bet because the Saints are so limited on offense at the quarterback position, at pass catcher and weapons outside of Alvin Kamara. And it's a shame because Sean Payton has a great defense coordinated by Dennis Allen, some stars on that side. The defense is certainly playoff caliber. I don't think the offense is. That's why there's limited value on this bet in my eyes. All right. Finally, we'll go to the Natty, where Ja'Marr Chase, who was, I think, the favorite to win Offensive Rookie of the Year for a little bit of this season, has since been passed by Mac Jones, who's the overwhelming favorite at minus 475, but Ja'Marr at plus 350 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. What good word do you have for me, Erin?
Gone. Gone as in this is long gone. You can't be betting Ja'Marr Chase at this point. Mac Jones is the clear favorite, and for a reason. He's thrown for nearly 3,300 yards. He has 18 touchdown passes. I mean, the last 2 weeks, he has lost those games to the Colts and to the Buffalo Bills, but still he's had an incredible season and really looks great for the Patriots. Ja'Marr Chase has been awesome for the Bengals. Seriously, he's been awesome. Those LSU ties with Barrow are clearly, something that ended up being great for the Bengals, but he's had 68 receptions for nearly 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns in 15 games. Very impressive. It's just, at this point, long gone. Mac Jones is going to win it, as the odds makers clearly think, considering how big of a number you have to lay with him.
All right. See, I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, though. I do think that for bettors of Ja'Marr, it is going to be a chase down the stretch to cash this bet. Now, here is where Ja'Marr can even up or win it. It's this week, week 16. Ja'Marr Chase and the Bengals at home beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and Ja'Marr has an alpha performance like we saw last week from T. Higgins. 7-8 catches, of course, over 100 yards, a touchdown or two. And I don't think Mac Jones and the Patriots are going to lose their game, but if it's yet again an uninspiring or unimpressive performance where the Patriots rely on their run game, I think Ja'Marr can chase down Mac Jones. He's certainly behind, as the odds would indicate, but I do not think this is a gone or all but done bet for Offensive Rookie of the Year. All of it will hinge, though, on Ja'Marr and the Bengals beating the Chiefs this week, and Ja'Marr has to have a big game. They can't just win and Ja'Marr goes for 4-40. Ja'Marr has got to be a big reason why they win that game, but certainly chase mode for those bettors who want to try and get that good return on investment for Ja'Marr Chase. All right, let's make it now a three-person bet and bring in our prop queen, Anita Marks, to join us here as we dive into the Week 17 NFL slate. And Anita, Erin, why don't we get started with a team we were just talking about there in the good word, the Cincinnati Bengals, taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. We know the Chiefs have already locked up the AFC West. They're trying to get that 1 seed, and the Bengals have now moved atop the AFC North. Bengals catching 5 at home, a total that's come up above 50 to 51 is where we're at. Anita, I'll start with you since you're joining us. How are you looking to play this game?
Yeah, listen, looking at what Kansas City was able to do last week against the Ravens, I think that has a big play in regard to this line. But I'm all over Kansas City -5. Their defense has just been unbelievable. This is a totally different animal for the Baltimore Ravens and what they're going to face this coming week. Offensively, Patrick Mahomes, they've only had 8 turnovers in their last 10 games. Defensively, they have 21 takeaways. And their line of scrimmage, ever since they traded for Ingram with the Pittsburgh Steelers and moved Chris Jones in the interior part of that defensive line, they're just dominating all opponents' offensive. They're just going to really control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow are going to be in for a long day. So I'm all over Kansas City here. I'll lay the points.
Yeah, Kansas City, rocking an 8-game win streak and I think a 6-game cover streak. Aaron, how do you feel about this one?
So I'm in agreement with Anita. I actually like laying the points with the Kansas City Chiefs, which is something I usually don't do because I love backing Joe Burrow and the Bengals. But I just think in this spot, they're coming off that great historic win over the Ravens, in which Joe Burrow had over 500 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. And this line just keeps moving in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs because they've been better on offense and defense than the Cincinnati Bengals. They've turned things around since the beginning of the season. They rank 3rd in offensive efficiency, the Kansas City Chiefs, 2nd in passing yards per game, and Patrick Mahomes will be able to kind of have a field day considering the Bengals had the 29th defense against the pass. So I just think overall, when looking at these teams, they're heading in 2 different directions. And I think the public's going to love to bet on the Bengals just because it's kind of a favorite, I feel like, this season. But just in general, the Bengals, again, they've lost to the Jets. They've lost to the Browns. They also lost to the Chargers. Then they lost in overtime to the 49ers. So there's just been some times where you kind of scratch your head at that team. So I'm going to lay the points with Kansas City.
All right, ladies, it's me against the world. I'm going to grab those points with the Bengals, and I'm going to play the over, which, again, 49.5 when I was looking at it. It's now up to 51, so we can see it steam that way. That's what the public is thinking. I just think that the Kansas City Chiefs have fattened up on this 8-game win streak with a couple of things. 6 of their 8 games during this streak have been at home. And that's one of the best home field advantages in all of the NFL. They've played like 2 home games in the past 2 months, which is crazy with NFL scheduling. Now they're going to be on the road in a natty. Good home environment there for Cincinnati. Also, when you consider those teams they beat during that stretch, what are their most impressive wins? Dallas? All right, well, Dallas didn't have Amari Cooper, didn't have Tyron Smith. CeeDee Lamb left that game with a concussion, and Dak Prescott wasn't playing well because his calf was banged up. How about the Green Bay Packers? Also another game at home. Well, it wasn't Aaron Rodgers under center. It was Jordan Love. So when I look at the way that Kansas City has gotten to this streak, I think they've kind of benefited from playing a lot of games at home and playing some soft competition. The game that was the most threatening to them in that streak was on the road against the Chargers, a game they probably should have lost if Brandon Staley was less conservative, kicking field goals, or they had converted some of those 4th down chances. So I think this is going to be the first real big test that Kansas City's had since that Charger game. And I think Cincinnati will ride the momentum of that big win against Baltimore, although I am concerned about that Cincinnati offensive line against that Kansas City defensive line, though I do think Burrow and co will be able to move the rock. All right, let's move to the Dolphins and the Titans. Tennessee just keeps winning somehow, some way. Very low total of 40. Tennessee, a 3.5-point favorite against a Dolphin team that's won 7 in a row. Anita, I'll start with you again. How do you feel about this one?
I'm all over Miami. I love this Miami play. I think the wrong team is favored here. So, and you get the hook. So I'm going to play Miami plus 3.5. I'm going to play them on the money line. I'm going to use them as a 2-team 6-point teaser. I'm going to use them a ton of ways. No Julio Jones. A.J. Brown limited at practice this week. Bud Dupree is expected not to play because of COVID. Ryan Tannehill, as my mom likes to call him. Of course, he was a quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. My mom's a huge Dolphins fan. 6 interceptions, 6 fumbles the last few games, and I buried the lead here. And that's this Miami Dolphins defense. The last 7 games, of course, which they've gone on a tear, and they've won. #1 defense in the NFL. They have the #1 pressure rate. They're getting after quarterbacks. And on the offensive side of the ball, brace yourself. I came across this stat. I had to check it twice, 3 times. And that is Tua, his last 6 games, #1 completion percentage in the NFL of all quarterbacks. How about that? So, wrong team's favored here. I'm all over Miami.
All right. Aaron, are you again with Anita? Are you on the Miami side? Are you looking at this game differently?
Nope.
I'm not. I'm on Rams minus 3.5. I feel like when you're looking at the board, it makes so much sense to take the Miami Dolphins at plus 3.5. It's going to be such a public play, and it makes sense considering the Miami Dolphins are 19-8-1 against the spread their last 28 games as an underdog. But for me, I think the the Titans get it done in this spot. And the reason being is I know that they haven't had a great run considering Derrick Henry has been out, but I think A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, they were ruled in a few hours right before that game against the 49ers on that Thursday Night Football matchup. So I just think in this particular game, considering the line hasn't moved back down to 3 and so many people are backing the Miami Dolphins, every single article I've read is saying the Dolphins are going to win this one outright. I just personally am going to go against the public in this one, and I'd lay the points with the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans have continued to defy logic, but you're going to be the lone wolf here, Erin. I'm with Anita. I'm on the Miami side, especially since it's over 3 at 3.5. That Miami defense has a Tennessee offense that is still without Derrick Henry, will be without Julio Jones, and A.J. Brown, who's been awesome this season when he's healthy, may not be 100%. I think that defense continues to play well in this matchup against a limited offense. I think Tua, who's throwing nothing but short A-dot passes to Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle especially, can take advantage of a weakness in that Tennessee defense, which is their pass coverage. So I like the 3.5. I think the Dolphins will, like Anita, I think they can win this game as well, but I'm not going to jump on the money line. I'll just take the 3 and the hook, thinking the Dolphins keep this momentum going, keep this game close. But somehow, some way, Mike Vrabel, he might be the coach of the year for me. Given what they've had to go through, they're still winning that AFC South division. It's been remarkable, but I think the Dolphins are the better team. They're certainly the one I'm more comfortable backing with 3.5 points given on the road against the Titans. Now to the Rams and the Ravens, and the Rams are a road favorite in this matchup against Baltimore. Of course, you don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Ravens. Will it be a gimpy, hobbled Lamar? Will it be Tyler Huntley coming off the COVID list? We know the Rams will have Matthew Stafford under center coming off that poor performance against Minnesota, albeit in a win. Anita, how you looking at this one?
Listen, if you look around the slate this week, there's a lot of 3.5, a lot of 5.5 teams that I think are going to win, but I don't like the 5.5, and I don't like the hook. So I'm going to take the Rams, and I'm going to play them as a 2-team money line parlay. And I'm gonna align them with the Kansas City Chiefs. As you know, we believe Kansas City is going to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. At least I do, straight up. There are a number of games out there, a number of teams out there like Dallas that I think you can do that. So I really like this bet for a number of reasons. As you said, we don't know who the starting quarterback is going to be. We saw a video earlier this today of Lamar Jackson limping around practice. Is it going to be Huntley? On top of that, this is a Ravens team, especially defensively. They've been ravaged by COVID-19. They're going to be missing a lot of DBs, possibly their 2 top pass rushers. And here's the really big kicker, and that is with Cooper Kupp and Odell Beckham Jr., the Ravens play a lot of man press coverage. They're going to own the Ravens, especially if they're missing a lot of their secondary, a lot of their DBs. So I'm going to play a lot of prop bets over with those guys as well. But I think Rams roll here. But again, I think this is a really good spot to utilize them as a 2-team moneyline parlay with a number of other teams. And I'm going to line it with Kansas City.
All right, Erin, I know you had the Rams on your mind a little earlier in the show, so I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this matchup. What do you think?
A lot of games, a lot of numbers, got to memorize a lot of things. I started, getting my lines crossed there. But I'm actually going to look towards the over in this game because I don't want to touch the spread. It keeps moving out in favor of the Rams. Makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, I just don't really know what's going to end up happening with the Ravens. I got burnt last week when I decided to take them against the Bengals, assuming that Lamar Jackson was going to play in that game, and then he didn't. I'm kind of convinced also when seeing the videos of him limping, is he really that injured? Because I feel like at that point, please just sit down, sir. I don't want you to get more injured. But I'm seeing the tickets and money coming in very heavily on the over for this. 98% of the money is on the over at Caesars. 89% of the tickets on the over for this as well. You have 2 explosive offenses. The Rams can put up big numbers. They're averaging 29 points in their last 5 games. The Ravens are obviously a lot less than their season average. They're at 22 in the last 5, just considering things have been on and off with Lamar Jackson. So I'm looking to play the over in this one just because I think the Rams will be able to really run up the score.
Yeah, I do like that. Earlier today on Daily Wager, I gave a Week 17 best bet for the NFL. It was the Rams team total over 25.5. I do think they'll be able to score. I'll lay the 4.5 with the Rams here. I don't like that. It's now getting up above 3.5, getting to 4.5. I just don't think this is a good matchup for the Baltimore Ravens. We just saw what Cincinnati did to them, and we know Cincinnati can throw the football. They have Joe Burrow, they have pass-catching backs like Joe Mixon, and they have a whole cadre of wide receivers that can beat you. It's kind of the same thing for the Rams. You have Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, and you have Cooper Kupp, the best wide receiver in the NFL, Odell, who has been revived, coming over to the LA Rams. And you have Van Jefferson, who's been a good second-year player. Plus, Tyler Higbee will be back as a tight end. And tight ends have wrecked Baltimore all season long. So you mentioned it, Aaron. That offense is averaging 29 points since their bye 5 weeks ago. That would have them well over their team total of 25.5. And I do think whether it's a hobbled Lamar Jackson or a Tyler Huntley coming off COVID, the Rams defense is starting to get dialed in. Raheem Morris is using Jalen Ramsey in smarter ways. Aaron Donald's starting to turn it up. Von Miller is contributing, especially in the run game. And this defense is starting to look like closer to the defense that was number 1 in the NFL last season. So I do think the Rams, who won 3 games over the last 13 days without fielding a practice. They had to do practice for 13 days virtually because of a COVID outbreak. They still won all 3 of those games. Finally, they're able to get back in person and prepare for this game. So I just think the Rams, I hate betting on my own team because if they lose, then I'm doubly ticked off. But I just don't think this is a good matchup for a Ravens team that justifiably is struggling because they have been wrecked and hurt by injury and COVID more than any other team in the NFL this season. I actually feel sorry for them, and kudos to them for fighting as long as they have in this season. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I'm on the Rams, but Baltimore wins this game. I'm going to be doubly ticked off for that one. All right, let's get away from the NFL. Let's get ready for the college football playoff semifinals, which we will see New Year's Eve right here on ESPN. I want to remind our viewers what I predicted might happen on Sunday's bet. I like Alabama in the first half, lay on the 7. They've outscored their opponents by an average of 15.5 points per game in the first half of the season. I think the talent deficiency will be a stark surprise for Cincinnati those first couple of series, and Alabama will jump out to a lead. And I'm on the Michigan side. They're the best team in the FBS ATS this season, 11-2. Getting more than a touchdown. I think they're just a better version of Georgia. Run the ball, play dominant defense, mediocre quarterback play. I just think they do it better, and they crafted their resume against a better Big Ten East than Georgia did against a very weak SEC East this season. So I'm sticking with those plays as of Thursday, getting ready for tomorrow. Anita, what say you first and foremost about this Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic between number 1 Bama and number 4 Cincinnati?
Yeah, I'm all over Bama here. When you go back and you look at the game against Georgia, I was on Georgia, right? Like, who could pass up on Alabama getting points? Well, I did. If you go back and you look at the game film, Alabama, I know, idiot. But Alabama and Nick Saban, they made some adjustments to their offensive line. That was my biggest concern. And what happened, Georgia? 0 sacks. All right, on Young with 50 dropbacks. So I think that's a really big key caveat here that you need to look at, especially in college football. It's won in the trenches. There's no denying that. Alabama's offense is so explosive. Not a knock on Cincinnati, but man, they put up 41 points on Georgia. I think this is one of those games where it's going to be close early. If you lay the points with Alabama, and again at 13.5, I wouldn't play it at 14.5. But I think when we get into the fourth quarter, it's going to be one of those games, guys, where Alabama's going to run away with it, and I think Alabama covers.
All right, Aaron, your thoughts?
I feel like everybody's made a lot of great points about this game in particular. I love Alabama. I love them in the SEC money line because there's no way you bet against Nick Saban in these types of situations. Now, you're seeing a Cincinnati team that's the first group of 5 teams to make the college football playoffs. I'm a little concerned with the 13.5 only because the line hasn't moved to 14 or 14.5, and I know the public is so heavy on this. We saw that graphic on Daily Wager a little bit earlier. Tyler, I think you make a great point playing that first half -7 because like then Joe said on Daily Wager, what's going to happen that second half of the game with Alabama if they want to start resting some of their starters and get ready for the national championship? I think that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of the Michigan game, I would look towards the under in that. I don't like the 7.5. I feel like so many people are loving that and wanting to play that. Line hasn't moved much, so I like under 45.5 for that game.
All right, well, you hear what Aaron has to say about that, Anita. You have my thoughts as well. I'm on Michigan. This is the Capital One Orange Bowl. It'll be the second game on ESPN Friday. You know, Georgia coming off that embarrassing loss, let's call it what it was, in the SEC title game. Are you with me riding with the Wolverines, or do you think Georgia bounces back?
Yeah, I love Michigan getting that hook. Again, I think that's key here because I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a one-score game when it's all said and done. And you got to look at Georgia. This will be arguably, if you think Alabama is the best team in college football, this will be the second best team that Georgia will have faced. And as I said just a second ago, you know, they couldn't get after the quarterback. And I think quarterback play is going to be so crucial here. It's going to be what quarterback outperforms, makes the most plays. And Michigan, their front seven is so good. I think they have what it takes to keep this close. So again, either team could win, but since it's 7.5 with that hook, I'm on the Michigan side.
Yeah, I'll even sprinkle a little on Michigan on the money line. Like I said, I just think they're the better version. These two teams do the exact same thing. I just think Michigan does it better than Georgia. So I'm going to sprinkle some on the money line. Aaron, you're attacking that total, like you said. It probably will be a low-scoring game given the strength of these defenses and the lack of explosive offensive ability. But I do think, especially if a game is going under, I like grabbing the underdog, especially if they're getting more than a touchdown. Less points. Give me the points with the team that is the underdog. That's the way we're looking at that Capital One Orange Bowl, and we'll see Friday who is headed to the College Football Playoff Championship game. All right, ladies, let's get out of here in the association. Run the three-person weave, and we have only 3 games now on the NBA slate tonight. One got canceled, Denver and Golden State. Pandemic wreaking havoc on the NBA, so that game wiped off the slate. We have 2 we want to dive into, so I will start with you again here, Anita. 76ers and the Nets. This one has the Nets installed as a 5.5-point favorite, a total of 222.5. Your screen giving you some important information there, viewers. Kevin Durant and LaMarcus Aldridge back and expected to play in this game against Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Aaron, hang tight because I know you're a Sixers fan. I want to hear Anita's thoughts first, then we'll get to your nitty-gritty there with your squad. Anita, what you're looking at in this one?
Well, I don't think Aaron's going to like what I have to say then. That's unfortunate. But as you know, I said it on Daily Wager. I host Sports Talk Radio here in the New York area, and there's a big buzz about this Nets team. And, I mean, listen, I know we're talking about KD and Aldridge coming back, but when Harden came back last week, team was out on the West Coast. He took it to the Clippers and the Lakers, averaged more than 30 points a game. And he even said he's feeling great, the best he's felt in a long time. Now you add KD to that mix, Aldridge to that mix. Here at home in Brooklyn, they're averaging 114 points a game, where the 76ers are averaging 109. So I'm all over the Nets tonight, minus 5, minus 5.5 in some places. And also, Tybalt, now defensively, one of the best defensive players in the NBA. They're going to need him a lot tonight, especially going up against KD and Harden. He's averaging 30 minutes a game, also averaging 2 blocks, 2 steals, and 1 block a game. So you get that over blocks and steals at 2.5. It's my favorite prop bet tonight.
Yeah, Thibault is a guy who may see a lot of Kevin Durant in this matchup because he's so great on the perimeter. All right, Aaron, is them fighting words from Anita? She's back in the Brooklyn Nets. What do you think?
It is not. The Brooklyn Nets are going to roll Philly tonight. Like that, it's happening. Like there's no 2 ways about it. So that's why I'm looking at Joel Embiid player prop 26.5. He's going to have to hit over this. He's going to have to put up an insane amount of points in this game to even keep them in the game whatsoever. I mean, like we talked about, KD's coming back with LaMarcus Aldridge. The Philadelphia 76ers already lost to the Brooklyn Nets without those 2 players in. It was terrible. Joel Embiid was able to put up 32 points in that game to kind of crawl back from that 20-point deficit, but it was still a very ugly loss. So I'm hoping that Joel Embiid's able to have another big night. He's been really hot lately. He scored at least 36 points in 3 of his last 4 games, at least 32 points in 4 of the last 5 games. We're expecting to see a lot of points considering we're seeing the total pretty high at that 222, I believe, right now. So I'm expecting him to be able to hit over 26.5 for Joel Embiid tonight, but they're absolutely going to get rolled. There's no 2 ways about it.
Yeah, I'm going to stay away from the side, but you mentioned the highest total on the board tonight. I'm not sure it should be. 222.5 is up there. I'm going to go under. The Sixers' 4th best or 4th highest under rate in the NBA this season. The Brooklyn Nets are 2 games over 500 to the under this season. Combined 37, 28, and 1 for these 2 teams to the under. We know Philadelphia wants to play slow with their offense built around Joel Embiid. They can't sprint up and down the court. They have to play half court and slow it down. And I think the same will be said for the Nets while Aldridge and Durant get their conditioning back up. So I'm going under in this one of 222.5. The other game we want to look at, ladies, Cavs and the Wizards. Washington, a 3-point favorite, a lower total of 210 in this one. Cavs just lost Ricky Rubio for the season, which stinks. Wizards, I think we're going to be without Spencer Dinwiddie in tonight's matchup. So, Anita, I'll start with you again. What are you thinking?
I know that we have to be quick here. I'm on the Cavs. Both these teams are COVID casualties. But the Cavs, their front court have me sold with Kevin Love and Evan Mobley, who's back. Favorite prop bet is Okoro over points, assists, and rebounds. He's going to be needed. I think his assist take a tick up because he's going to be needed big time because, as I said, COVID, man, Cleveland's been hit big time with their point guards.
Yeah. All right, Erin, your thoughts?
I'm going, sorry, to kind of make it a quick there. Evan Mobley over 17.5 points. He had 22 in his return in the last game against the Pelicans. If anybody's going to score for the Cavs, it's going to be Evan Mobley, and he's been sensational as a rookie. So I'm taking over for his points tonight.
Yeah, that's one of the rare guys they have left there, so I like that play. I'll back the Cavs. They've earned that equity with me, even without these injuries. I don't think the Wizards are a team that scares me, so catching the points, I'll see if that culture that Bickerstaff has built there can parlay to success, even missing those bodies that will be out. So I'm going to ride the Cavs, and that'll do it for Bet in the year of 2021. For Erin Dolan and Anita Marks, I am Tyler Fulghum. Have a safe and happy New Year. We'll see you back here on Bet Sunday morning.